South East Radio's Business Matters with Carl Fitzpatrick.
South East Radio.
Well, Mondello Park is an Irish venue that needs no introduction for Irish motorsport enthusiasts. But what about the business behind this unique sporting attraction? Roddy Greene, the Managing Director of Mondello Park, joins us now to tell us more. Roddy, I'm planning to get behind the wheel of the Mondello Park business model this morning. But first, provide us with an insight into your own background.
Morning, Carl. Thanks for having us on. Yeah, well, I'm in Mondello now, just coming up on 8 years, and I'm a finance profession. That's what I trained as an accountant, and landed in Mondello about 8 years ago or so as a financial accountant. And the managing director at the time, John Morris, that was here in Mondello, decided that there was better things for him to do further afield. So the position came up for me in Mondello. So about 7 years ago or so, I took on the role as general manager, and then moved my way up to managing director over the last couple of years. So a really interesting business, completely different to anything that I've ever come from in the past, from a finance background, being involved in various businesses from construction and development to software development and retail. So lots of different businesses that got me to Mondello. But certainly it's a completely different animal than you would have experienced with any other businesses that I've been involved in.
And Roddy, of course, Mondello Park is a household name, but not everybody might fully understand what goes on there.
You know, Carl, it's a funny thing that it's always some of these questions people say to me today. Are you in Mondello all the time? Are you there every day of the week? And what happens up there? So it's certainly something we do get asked. And it's from the outset, I always say we're a really, really busy venue, which is brilliant. We've quite a diverse number of things and activities that happen here in Mondello, from, as you would expect, the standard traditional motorsport items. So we have car racing that goes on once a month. We have motorcycle racing. And then we've other disciplines called rally cross and rally sprint. So we've lots of stuff that happens in the competitive environment. And we're the home of Irish motorsport since 1968. So we've a huge history in terms of Irish motorsport. And then outside of that, then we've lots of retail activities, as I call them. They would be driving experiences where people can come to the venue and they can sit into one of our cars that we have on the fleet, be it a BMW, a Ferrari, a Porsche, or a single-seat race car, and they can get the chance to drive one of our vehicles on track there for a period of time. So we've lots of different things that happen, and as I said, we've probably around 200 different events that happen over the year that make this kind of a really busy venue over a 12-month period.
And Roddy, since you took up the role as Managing Director of Mondello Park, how has the business evolved over that period?
Probably a bigger focus, Carl, on the consumer products. And when I say consumer, that I mean our driving experiences. It's kind of where we've seen over the last while that there's a big focus for people to experience things. And particularly now since we've come out of lockdown, you probably see a lot of consumers who will come to us that probably would have thought about doing something like this before COVID, but now that they've come out the other side, they're really excited and want to experience different things. So it's certainly for us, that's a change and a new focus. And we put a lot of emphasis on our back-end technologies, making it easier for our consumers to buy from us, making our marketing channels more slick and more appealing to our consumers, and generally kind of just bringing the level of offering up a standard that when people come to the venue, that it's a premium feel, that they sit into a premium product. And, we've great relationships across all of the automotive manufacturers, particularly BMW Ireland, who would be a key partner for us here at the venue. And in terms of our vehicles, then we've 50 vehicles on the fleet where consumers can come and pick a range of experiences and come and really drive something that you're never going to get the experience of it in, anywhere else in the country, really, and for a place that's steeped in history, you can come and drive on a circuit where Ayrton Senna won here back in the 80s, so it's a real iconic circuit and just gives people that opportunity to experience something that they never generally would in their day-to-day,
And the pandemic undoubtedly hit the business hard, but did you use the downtime to work on new ideas for developing Mondello Park?
Yeah, absolutely. Over the time, we've challenged ourselves in terms of looking at the business and looking looking forward really and seeing where we can bring the business and particularly different aspects to it. One of the things we've worked on really hard is actually on the sports side. So we work closely with Motorsport Ireland, who would be the governing body for motorsport in Ireland. And we've embarked on a project with them now where we've entered into a 5-year agreement with them to take control of the National Circuit Racing Championships, which takes place mainly here in Mondello. But we've entered into an agreement with them to look at the future of that particular branch of the sport, how we can engage younger people, how we can develop the sport, how we can get, I suppose the general public back interested in it, and really how we can drive that aspect of our business forward. So that was a real key change for us, and it's been a long time kind of coming for us with Motorsport Ireland. We've been working really hard with them in terms of getting the contract done and trying to agree deliverables and the whole lot of the normal contract negotiations, but it's been really positive, and the first two events that we've had under this new banner of the ICCR, as we call it, the Irish Circuit Irish Racing Championships, we've had two really key and successful events since we've come back from the pandemic, which has been great. So that's one of the main projects that we've been working on, and then it's looking at trying to engage younger people in the sport and to secure the sport for the future, really.
So Roddy, provide us with an insight into that particular project with Motorsport Ireland, and how many events do you plan to run over the course of the year?
On an average year, Carl, we'd run 5 to 6 circuit race events. So we've 2 down and we've another 3 to go over the season. So the intricacies of that contract really are, we're stepping in to try and give the sport a bit of a boost. And when I say that, there's a lot of history and a lot of effort gone into by people before us that took control of the sport. So for us really now, it's to look to the future and to try and engage younger people in it. One of the key things for me is looking at the demographic of our current competitor base and then trying to see, how can we engage younger people in the sport? How can we get people who are interested maybe in karting or even might be only interested in a passing sense in motorsport, get them back interested in it? And particularly when you look at the success of shows on Netflix like Drive to Survive, when you look at the top echelons of the sport around the world with F1, there's a real interest in particularly in Ireland. On Netflix, it was trending for number one on Netflix for quite a couple of weeks. So there's definitely a general interest in motorsport. So we're just trying to engage people back into the sport to provide an attractive package that people can come and race in Mondello. And also, if you want to just come and spectate, that we're trying to give the facilities that people can come, they can enjoy a day out and really give people the opportunity to experience the sport firsthand. That's what we're aiming to do.
And Roddy, is there an opportunity as well for Mondello Park to work closely in tandem with the Road Safety Authority and of course with insurance companies?
Yes, absolutely, Carl. We've worked with the Road Safety Authority in the past, and particularly with insurance companies, we've done separate projects in the past. Where we kind of link into it at this stage is we activate a program called Early Drive, which we do for transition year students, and it's all built around road safety. The whole program is engaging transition year students in road safety and the whole aspect of that. The project splits over 3 modules where we take kids first through a classroom session which talks them all about road safety and how things work, and then they actually get a chance to drive a mini on the circuit here with an instructor, with one of our driving instructors. So for a lot of kids, it's their first opportunity to sit into a car and to do that at a racetrack. I know when I was 15 years of age, if that's somebody had given me the chance, I would have jumped at it to go to a racetrack and drive a car. And then we take them through our Museum of Motorsport, which we have here, which talks them through the evolution of safety from F1 and how all the developments that happen in F1 filter all the way down into your road car, which you mightn't see today or tomorrow, but you'll certainly see in 5 or 6 years' time. So that's one of the key things, the key kind of road safety message that we deliver would be through the transition year program, which is brilliant. It's a really successful program. Again, many are our partners in it, our automotive partners. And it's a really successful project that's been running for over 14 years now. We put a lot of kids through it every year. Now,
you reopened after lockdown on the 27th of April last, and you've completed a few races since then. So is the appetite for live motorsport still as strong as the pre-COVID levels?
Actually, Carl, it's brilliant to say that it's actually stronger, and that's the key thing that we're finding since we've actually came back from lockdown. Where actually the demand for us to open up further and allow more spectators in is huge, and what we're operating at the moment within the guidelines set down by Sport Ireland, which is what we're governed by when it comes to the sporting events. We absolutely operate to those, and we've put in a huge amount of protocols and safety measures, as a lot of venues have around the country, to ensure that when customers come to us or when competitors come to us, that we operate the venue as safely as possible given the times that we're in. But certainly there's a real demand for people to come out and to go back to live events, whether it's motorsport or music or whatever. There's certainly a demand for people to come out and experience live events after the period of time we've been through. But certainly for motorsport, we're delighted to say that there's a real interest in it. Particularly now when we operate the ICCR events, we've engaged a new media team, so we've done a lot of promotion and trying to engage customers in terms of what we're doing with the sport. and certainly we're starting to see that interest come through for people wanting to attend live events. So we'd have an event nearly every weekend. Nearly we'd have a motorsport event on, or every second weekend anyway. We'd certainly have a motorsport event on, and we're seeing lots of support for that by either through competitors who are actually taking part in the event and people wanting to come and watch it. And it's been a real pleasure actually to see lots of younger people coming to us, and mums and dads coming with their kids and getting really engaged in the sport again. So it's a real positive for us.
And Roddy, recruiting new sponsors and sustaining relationships with existing sponsors must be a critical aspect of your role as MD. Talk to us about your approach to this.
Well, when we look at partnerships, Carl, I suppose you're always trying to look at the two-way street in this and giving value back to your sponsors and your partners. That's the key way that I approach it. I suppose given the venue that we have and the access to public coming to the venue and for products to be showcased here, it's always, we always look at it and say, well, what can we offer you in terms of the partnership? And I think that's key for me when you're approaching these situations, that it has to be on a partnership basis. As I said, we work really closely with BMW Ireland. We've had a great partnership with them for probably over 5 years now, but they've been engaged with the venue probably going back further than that. But specifically over the last 5 years or so, they've been heavily involved. But it's about understanding what's important for them. So as things change for brands, as things become different things become key for them. For example, with the change to electrification for BMW and things like that, that becomes more key for them. So for me in assessing these relationships, it's all about trying to understand where the company that you're dealing with, where are they coming from, what's their strategy, and how can we link the two of them together to ensure that Mondello provides value back to them through all of these partnerships. And I think that's key to longevity in all of the partnerships that we deal with.
And although still approximately 10 years away from becoming mainstream, how much of a threat is autonomous driving to Mondello Park?
I don't see it as a threat, I suppose, Carl. It's probably, for me, I suppose, it's trying to understand, well, how is that going to work in terms of practicalities on the Irish road. The first thing, we've been involved probably in early stages in conversations with different companies who are involved in the development of autonomous vehicles in Ireland. And it's probably one of those kind of sleeper industries that people don't see, that there's so much development going on in Ireland in terms of the autonomous vehicle development process and electrification as well. And we've been engaged with a couple of companies over the last few years in terms of maybe using Mondello as a test bed. So rather than seeing it as being a threat to us, because I always think that no matter what the technology does, there's always going to be an appetite for somebody to get behind the wheel and drive a car, either it be competitively or in a leisure environment. Autonomous vehicles may take us to our office and it might give us the ability to sit in the back seat and make phone calls and answer emails, which are always very important for us to do. But I think you never take away that thrill of actually sitting behind the wheel of a car, whether it be a high-performance car that we can provide here or a race car or anything like that. I think that will always still be there. That connection to driver and machine will always be there and will always excite people to see how you can get the best out of your car. So I think there's definitely opportunities for us in that space that we can, use Mondello as a test bed for developing this technology. And I think for me, we'd look at it as an opportunity rather than a threat.
Excellent. Now, you also spoke about corporate entertainment and the importance of it to Mondello Park. Do you expect that corporate entertainment will take off again?
Yeah, definitely, and we're working hard on that at the moment. What we can see at this stage is that the smaller groups starting to get together. So we're really seeing in the SME sector that smaller companies are coming to us who are probably a little bit further down the road in terms of getting back into smaller offices and things like that. So we're certainly seeing that it's coming back and inquiry levels are starting to pick up. And with the larger organisations that we would have been used to dealing with pre-COVID, it seems to be it's a little bit of a longer term that we see them coming back to us. But without a doubt, we see it coming back to us. One of the other aspects that we would have worked really closely with is destination management companies who would have managed large tour groups coming into the country, and we would have provided corporate entertainment for them here at the venue. That's definitely a slower burn. They're talking about maybe 2022 or 2023 for that to come back.
And Roddy, taking a global perspective for a second, what other motorsport venues do you take inspiration from?
Well, we as Mondello, we sit on a group called Amerco, which is the circuit owners group, which is based across the UK and Ireland. So we, on a regular basis, we be engaged with our colleagues in the UK through Brands Hatch, Silverstone, right away across the UK in Donington Park. We be engaged with our colleagues across there. So we certainly take some positives there of what they're doing in the UK, and particularly when you're looking at the standards that they operate to. So we'd certainly look at the likes of Brands Hatch as being, probably a key venue when you look at the standards and looking at what we can learn and how we can raise our standards up. Absolutely, we operate to a very high standard in Ireland. But like everything else, Carl, as you know yourself, you look at your competitors and you look at how they do things, and you look at right, well, what could we do better in our sense? Or even at the start of at the COVID process, it was actually Mondello Park that wrote the COVID protocol that was shared with our colleagues in the UK that started the whole process for them in terms of re-engaging Motorsport UK to get Motorsport back up and running. So, well, it's definitely, you'd look to the UK and say, how can we learn from them? There's certainly areas that we can bring to both sides of that relationship.
And Roddy, finally, what are your priorities from Mondello Park from a growth perspective over the next 5 years?
Over the next 5 years, but we're engaged at the moment, Carl, in a design process for new buildings at the circuit. So really what we're looking at the minute is to put in the next stage of capital investment. The venue itself is still owned by the Bahrain family. Martin Bahrain was a key stalwart of the venue. He took over the venue in the mid-80s and put in a huge amount of capital investment in it right up until the early 2000s. Unfortunately, Martin passed away in 2018, but the venue is still owned by his family. So we're engaged with the family now to looking forward to the venue, to the next round of capital investment, looking at how we can further grow the venue locally and internationally. That's a key for us. So we're early stages talking to Kildare County Council, who we have a great relationship with, about that early stage for planning for new buildings in the centre of the circuit, which will open us up then to hosting larger style events for corporates that can do product promotions and things like that. So we're looking at a really marquee building in the middle of the circuit that we can grow and develop the circuit around. So the next 5 years is key for us in terms of developing our revenue lines around driving experiences. So we've invested in new vehicles over the last 6 months, and it's certainly for us that we can see a really opportunity for us to grow that revenue line and to move the business forward over the next 3 to 5 years.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Roddy Greene, the Managing Director of Mondello Park, and I've no doubt that the business is revving up for even more success over the coming years.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Carl Fitzpatrick.
South